Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, friends of the free enterprise world from around the world, and welcome to an incredible matchup between two fan favorites in the free enterprise community. We have JohnBirckhead of Team Brew Attitude and Infinious from Team Balamb Cricket Club. Uh, just a real barn burner of a matchup here, and I am honored to be joined by a first-time free enterprise commentator, but long-time randomizer commentator in Gar. How you doing this morning, Gar? Pleasure to have you with us.
Well, thanks, Possum. I've got my coffee. I've got my big jug of water. I have a pot roast that is just waiting to be cooked. And I get to sit in the commentary booth for my very first time with a good friend, Possum Morpheus. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, that all sounds wonderful. I'm a little jealous of the pot roast, not gonna lie. You can keep the coffee. The water sounds good. Always stay hydrated, friends. Speaking of staying hydrated, remember, folks, for those going to JohnCon, as Infinius's naming would indicate, stay hydrated while there too. I'm sure there'll be an adult beverage or two, much like Bacchus wine, but water is pretty important as well. We have something that our runners may not like, though. I see a young hero, and I don't know about you, Gar. I know you've played some of the Moonveil mixer. I'm not a big Yang fan. Kinda not great early on or in the mid game, and even sometimes in the late game.
And that is a shame because he is everybody's favorite punch mage. And a punching we will go. I can see it in everybody's future only because you can't get rid of him.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of a forced existence, if you will. We're going to be punching things with Yang, whether we like it or not. He's also everyone's favorite punch mage because he's the only punch mage. So again, don't really have a choice.
Still not wrong.
But looks like our runners do have a choice on what they're going to do or not do. We have 7 objectives, our 4 standard ones, and then we have the double Baron objective and Cave Bahamut that have shown up. Pretty powerful start with items and a potential blue robe in Baron. Baron could be the triple here with that blue robe, but an Earth Crystal start. The Edward is another character that exists, but that Earth Crystal is spicy out of the gate.
That is very, very tempting, I would say, with the starting party. Unless you find like a very early spoon. I am going to guess that both of our runners are going to go up Zot, even though there is nothing that says, hey, you need to go up Zot, at least not right now.
Yeah, the Earth Crystal is the only single key item that actually drives me away from the Baron opener, which is kind of the traditional opening, if you will. Not that there's truly a meta that's developed, but we're going to get some very early rating of that treasury. The character less important than finding the uberty good loots in here, even though it is max tier 5 on the treasure settings. So it is going to be a little less than average, but still some good stuff, especially when a Cactlaw is the very first item in that treasury. Hourglass in there, a black shirt, a strength ring, a headband. So Yang is now going to do tens of damage. Let's go, buddy.
And soon enough, he will do hundreds of damage. You just have to be patient.
Well, we are speedrunners after all, so hopefully that patience will reward our runners sooner rather than later. Now, I'm curious, Gar, after this initial rush of looting, we have these 27 boxes that everyone's going to be opening between the public and private treasuries. Where are you heading? Are you looking at Hobbs? Are you looking at Baron? Watery Pass? What's kind of your next destination here?
So personally, I'm going to go to Hobbs. I want to see another character. I would love to see some flavor of mage, I think. But I mean, looking at these objectives, we got basically both of the Baron Castle ones, doing both the basement and the castle itself. So I'm going to very heavily chase after Baron Key. It is hard required, so I want to see it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. Makes some early plays for characters, and that Baron Key, which could be the be all end all for this seed. I think more importantly, even than characters and key items early on here, our runners have both found vampires. Infinious purchasing 20 of them, and we'll see how many JohnBirckhead purchases. He only gets 7. I will say this gives a decided early advantage to Infinious. Vampires casting the Drain spell, a very powerful version of it will deal somewhere between 400 and 700 damage. And that is really going to allow you to not have to care about who your characters are, so long as you don't run into like D-Lunars, Mylon Z, or something else that's undead. You just go ahead and, basically buy your way through the overworld. So I'll be interested to see if that vampire purchase really sets Infinious apart from Birckhead early on.
Well, there's that mage that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, chat's favorite mage. They love Rydia way more than I do. Rydia definitely was an MVP, though, in the potion party flags. Has fallen back a little bit to her normal positioning within the Free Enterprise hierarchy, in these flags. But certainly a lot of folks may have gained a newfound respect for Rydia after the last flag set that we had.
Yeah, worth noting too that I believe that Leviathan orbs can be found with the tier 5 chests. So a very, very powerful early summon. And
yeah, not just chests, but also in gated shops that can show up. So Leviathan can definitely be an early damage boost.
So here I'm curious to see where Infinious goes next. From my relative inexperience, I would take this opportunity, just hop next door and go to the Antlion Cave and see what's there. And it seems like he has the same idea.
Yeah, I think with his party, there's 2 choices. It's either Antlion Cave, or if he needed it, heading to Fabul for the heal. But I don't think he has any reason really to push the healing at this time. No, like Leviathan to get online yet for Rydia, for example. No Sylph, and he could also just tent up if he wanted to for that. But looks like JohnBirckhead hot on his heels. Runner's basically doing about the same things early as you'd expect. Just a little more menuing time for John, making sure his party is better equipped. Well, Infinious kind of just heading into battle, saying, I have vampires, I don't care. I push the button and I end the fights. 2 vampires and Odin's down. We'll see what Antlion Cave gives.
Very timely warp learning there too for Rydia.
Oh,
hey.
My.
Well, that's kind of nice.
I would say that's actually a huge bailout for JohnBirckhead. The spoon for Edward really cuts into the vampire advantage that Infinious had. So I actually think that is way more beneficial for JohnBirckhead than it is Infinious. Just makes it so he now has more money that he can spend on other things while still having one character who's doing quite a lot of damage. So a little unlucky if you're an Infinious fan, but definitely very fortunate if you are a JohnBirckhead fan.
Yeah, that money advantage is definitely going to come in hand too, especially once Bacchus wines start becoming an option.
Yeah, once Bacchus wines start appearing, and certainly also if our runners come across an adamant armor or said spoonward, we could basically get to a point where, as trivial as it sounds, the recipe for success in the seed is Edward drinks a Bacchus wine to start every single fight, which is a really fun way to play FE for runners and for viewers because Eddie gets to hit things. It's not fun for the bosses though.
Well, we don't really care too much about the boss's feelings, do we?
I mean, that water hag you might care a little bit for. King Queen Eblan, you know, given what's happened to them. There's a couple bosses that you might have a soft spot for. I do see we have an instant mute knife purchase and a poison claw on JohnBirckhead's side, while Infinious is doing battle with a mom bomb here at the Fabul defense. We do see Sylph get purchased on JohnBirckhead's side, so that little money advantage he had, allowing him to pick up that Sylph, and looks like we have some Star Veils as well.
Infinious popping just a Stardust there to clean up the bombs. Very nice.
Yeah, don't really want to leave those bombs up. It's not that they'll, you know, do any meaningful damage at this location. It's more that there's just 6 of them, and the less actions they get, yeah, the less actions they get, the better.
How about a pair of Zeus gauntlets from the Fabul King? That's a pretty good pickup. Unfortunately, I don't think Edward can use the Zeus gauntlets, but yeah, I'd have a good time with it.
It's underwhelming. I think that you'd rather almost see something like a crystal ring if we're going with tier 6 accessories. Like Zeus Gauntlet is nice, but we already have strength rings. Zeus Gauntlets, they're plus 10 strength. They protect against size. They give you giant resistance, but it's one of those things where it's like, like it's a minor upgrade. And honestly, if you gave our runners the option, a power shirt at tier 6, a crystal ring at tier 6, like there's a lot of things that our runners would rather have. You know, Zeus Gauntlet's great, don't get me wrong, but it's just not really what you'd want, especially spending a Stardust. Those early J items might be more valuable than a Zeus Gauntlet, you know, just in those early fights, and especially like the ordeals changing. But we do see a Betrayer hanging out in Baron Inn, protected by a completely free fight. So a couple of freebies that are kind of floating around here early on for our runners.
The next one is a little less free, unfortunately. I don't think that Infinious is going to have any trouble with this whatsoever. He's got vampires. He's got a punch mage doing hundreds of damage. But Leviathan can still be a little bit rude at this spot.
Yeah, Leviathan definitely, it can dish out some Ice 2 damage, but those vampires are going to make quick work of this. I like JohnBirckhead's routing here a little bit better, making sure that he gets this Yang a little bit more online, getting a couple extra levels for his party before taking on Baron N. Not to say that, you know, I think this is wrong from Infinious, but getting the most out of his vampires, because again, JohnBirckhead has a more limited supply of them. I think getting through ordeals with those is more important. Now, worth noting, Infinious does get a pink, so if a hook appears, that is an adamant armor that would be on the overworld, available to our runners. That would be huge, as we have a bit of a Spider-Man pointing meme up on Mount Ordeals.
Unfortunately, no Cecil to make him say ouch, but JohnBirckhead, once again, going to be able to get through this, no problem.
Yep, and we do see Infinious found a Gungnir spear. Starting Dwarf Axe will let him go ahead and back row that cane, but Headband, Strength Ring, Gungnir spear, back row cane, pretty good all things considered. Looks like the Headband is going over to Eddie. That makes a lot of sense. Any bit of strength here you can add to the person with 255 attack power from the spoon, which is the maximum, is definitely going to do some work. Infinious also has found now a full moon and a longsword should an edge show up, and does look like we have a back attack antlion. We have a chocobo coming out. Get him, Rydia. You can do it. You're helping.
I will not tolerate any anti-Rydia slander.
I
For
said she was
Chocobo,
helping.
I detected just the slightest hint of sarcasm. And look, see, Antlion is dead. This is 100% thanks to Rydia's Chocobo.
No. The enemy doesn't die here. The enemy falls into a deep ravine.
That's
See?
right.
Look.
Gerba.
Whee! And we do get a save coming up here from JohnBirckhead, not surprising whatsoever. Yang should be fine against most things, especially with the vampires that we have. But, you know, you could get like a wyvern that shows up and decides to cast like Beak. You could get an Odin that shows up and maybe we somehow take these Antetsuken. There's not a lot of things that are going to be troublesome here. You know, there could be something. We do have that hook, so that is going to represent an adamant armor for our runners. Biden actually a little bit rude here because we're going to have to use some other J items. This Gaia Drum needs to kill right away to make this an optimal fight. Might have been best to punch once and then Gaia Drum, or use a vampire then Gaia Drum. So a little bit of a time loss here for JohnBirckhead, but he'll be just fine getting through the fight, and that's the most important part. But Infinious is hot on his heels, just one fight behind and already up Baron in.
It's kind of wild that we have an adamant armor so early in the seed. And I wholly suspect that it's just going to be set it on Edward, forget it. And then Edward go Burr for the rest of the seed.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a set it and forget it, as you said. And you just hope that Bacchus are available on the hook route. And then it kind of becomes Eddie go Burr, like we alluded to about 5 minutes ago. And then this kind of came to fruition. It's always an interesting thing when you get two runners of this caliber and they have to make those decisions of, you know, how do we optimize every single fight from here on? How do we take the least number of actions and make sure that we get the most out of each one of them? And for our runners, you know, Infinious and Birckhead, they're both tournament mainstays. They're both 3-1 individually in this tournament. Birckhead's team, Brew Dude Attitude, is 3-2 currently, fighting for their playoff lives. Infinious's team, Balamb Cricket Club, is 5-0. There are only undefeated team remaining. So this is a big matchup for both of these gentlemen. Being 3-1, they're still both going to be over 500. They're both performing extremely well in the tournament so far. But really going to be interesting to see, you know, the kind of the long-term effects of, you know, who's able to leverage the power the best. Very interested to see how this plays out, and if anyone's able to pick up a big advantage. You know, again, the early vampires seem to have given Infinious a very small lead, but as we suspected, that spoon has cut into things a little bit, kind of a very beneficial thing for JohnBirckhead happening out of that antlion cave. And my biggest question from here is, do we just dive the hook? Or do we go to Zot and try to find some of those other characters, the Cecils, Edges, Foos of them?
I think at this point, I would be sorely tempted to just go the hook route. You've already got it. You have more than enough power to make it through, I suspect. I would probably hit up Eblan first, hit up the trapped chest, get some levels on our party before fully committing. But I'm curious as to what your thoughts are, Possum.
Yeah, I think it's defensible either way, because Zot, while it's a very out of the way check, it's a long check.
Oh, if I'm not mistaken, that was Golbez at the waterfall.
Yeah, and I think Infinious is going to come back to that. I certainly would. And then we'll get back to my thoughts on Zot. Uh, but I would come back with the Adamant armor because then you can just get a hide off with Eddie or a Star Veil. It will protect against the instant death from the Sneck. It'll protect against hold and just make it a lot easier. We also see some Kaipo guards on JohnBirckhead's side. But I think that I would probably still do Zot, mainly because if there's no Bacchus on the hook route, we don't have anyone to cast Zerk yet. I would be sorely tempted to do everything I can to find somebody who can cast Zerk. Really would be in tune with that. Looks like on JohnBirckhead's side, we are going to get an attempt at this gold. Nope, we are not going to get an attempt at the gold bits. He didn't get the hide off in time. So he will probably also be back after picking up the Adamant armor. I suspect we'll see that sooner than later, because the fewer party members you have, the faster that fight goes. But we'll see how Infinious routes this, and it looks like he is going Zot first.
And like you said, that's also very defensible. Not only do you get two characters, it's two peaks at Fabul Gauntlet, which I'm not 100% sure you'd want to see that up here, but it is a thing. And then also the key item at the end.
Yeah, it's, I mean, we know there's a Blue Robe in Baron, so it's less likely that we are hunting bosses at this point. We still could be, of course, but we're also going to get from Infinious, at least looking at the first two chests here in Zot. I personally like this play. If you happen to be able to pet the doggo kind of on your way, go ahead and try to pet the doggo. But if it doesn't show up in those first two chests, I like just kind of carrying on. One of the big things about the flame dog is it just has a propensity for dropping really good stuff. But our runners also already have an adamant. So one of the real big hits, one of the game changers, you already have it. So it's kind of like, do I really care as much? But looks like Infinious does. He's giving a full hunt for this flame puppy. And
he doesn't have to go far, fortunately.
Yeah, finds it just a little bit off the beaten path, one-shots it with Eddie, as one does with Adam and Spoonward, and is rewarded with a Masa. Just Infinious has everything edge. Should an edge show up? Birckhead does not. So if there's an edge up here in the tower, that would be a decided advantage to Infinious. And looks like we are greeted with a wall that is not going to pose a problem whatsoever for our runners. Adam and Spoonward will simply
it will make short work of the wall, yes.
Yeah. And chat also pointing out that we have 3 free Enterprise matches today. They are all Balamb Cricket Club versus Brew Attitude. So these teams, nothing decided yet this week. Balamb Cricket Club overall is 12-3. Brew Attitude is 8-7. Again, if Brew Attitude can win either 2-1 or 3-0 this week, they would move to 4-2 overall, keeping their playoff chances alive. Balamb Cricket Club, if they were to move to 6-0, would be in a commanding position as the only undefeated team left. But those other matchups that we have later on, that's going to be Firebird Lover versus Ergin and Commander Leonhardt versus V. Tafro. Those are going to be at 2 and 10 p.m. respectively Eastern time. So those would definitely be some matches you'd want to pay attention to. And looks like there's a Tella that we see. You know, the Rosa is the way more important for me.
I'm inclined to just keep the Rosa, ditch the Tella. Sorry, old man, but the future is now.
Yeah, I would very much agree with that. It gives you a black mage, a white mage, your hero, Kane, who's your Val protection, and Edward, who's your damage. I like that party comp. Tella doesn't really have too much of a place here. This plague is a little spooky because the numbers are going to trickle down pretty fast on the side here. So it looks like we are getting. If Rydia vampired herself, that doesn't work. And Infinious just finds out, unfortunately, the hard way that you cannot vampire yourself. You can only vampire somebody else and then life them. So hopefully Infinious is able to vampire someone else and then get a life pod out there. Because otherwise this is going to get a little bit spooky, or just deal the damage, which it looks like he's getting a second turn with Eddie and does get through that plague. So a little spooky, but gets...
It would have been a bit unfortunate too, because I don't believe that Infinious saved after doing Evil Wall. So you would have had to redo that fight. Not a big deal, but it is a couple of minutes that he has to claw back from JohnBirckhead.
Yeah, definitely would have put Birckhead in the lead probably for the first time this seed, albeit we're very close still. Of note, JohnBirckhead says, Tella, get in the van, and Kane, you've been voted off the island. A little surprised by that on John's side. I would have expected us to keep the Kane there. I'm very curious to ask John about why Tella, as we get our Earth Crystal reward.
A Mura sword, so where is Edge?
Yeah, very interesting stuff that there's, no Edge so far, but if Edge is on the hook route, big advantage for Infinious, as he would have access to Masamura Edge. And Eddie with a spoon is great, but Masamura Edge is one heck of a secondary Zerker to add to the squad. That would do quite a bit of work as a secondary Zerker, and really let Yang then be your tertiary Zerker. And if Cecil never shows up, honestly, you're still in great shape.
Yeah, worth noting too that we have all the stuff for an Edge. If we were to pick up a Cecil, we need some kind of crystal stick. Or holy stick, I guess. It doesn't necessarily have to be a crystal stick, although the crystal stick would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think in that case you would settle for an Avenger, a lightsaber, a defense sword. Any of those kind of tier 5, tier 6 swords would be just fine. I don't even really think you need like the highest end gear at that point for a Cecil. But Infinious is going to show us a Staleman chest, and we see a Bahamut. Well, there is a small child in the party who has an affinity for large dragon gods. So I think that Infinious is going to be quite happy with the result of that trap chest.
Siren's there too in the underground, so Eblan with the goods. We've only seen one chest and one shop, so
yeah, I mean, if you open the right chests and you shop in the right places, doing less things more efficiently than your opponent is an age-old recipe for success in free enterprise. I imagine it's the same in Worlds Collide, which I know you are quite good at. Your recent form really showing that off in that randomizer, and excited to see you keep improving in free enterprise as well. But Infinious really putting that to the test here. Finding those trap chests, picking up extra edge gear, picking up a Bahamut. So he's now up a couple of edge weapons. He's up a Bahamut over JohnBirckhead. He's got Kane instead of Tella. Things early on, while it looks like Infinious may only be about 30 seconds ahead, the long-term prospects here are a little bit brighter on Infinious' side as well. We do see a free boss on the hook route. That is the 2 guards, the Baron guards, as we've already seen the Kaipo guards, and a Porum. Maybe Porum makes it on JohnBirckhead's side over Tella. I don't see either runner taking this Porum, though, with Rosa in tow and already knowing exit from the Tower of Zod.
Yeah, I would say that if Zot wasn't in play right now, Porum is at least an interesting alternative to Rosa. I still don't think I pick her up, but having an exit caster is always very nice, and Porum learns it naturally. So, Infinious ditched her, and it looks like JohnBirckhead is going to ditch her as well.
Yeah, to me that makes a lot of sense. I just don't see a ton of reason to take that Porum. So the big party comp difference remains the Tela versus Kane and the Bahamut versus no Bahamut. We are going to get a Mad Ogre check here, though, from JohnBirckhead. So we're going to get some more information. We had 1 hourglass, it looks like, from JohnBirckhead's side. Infinious may be saving that for the guards. We do have a Zeus Gauntlet that will protect against their size, and then Rydia will be able to just, blarg them. I think we have some Medusa arrows as well. If we can time the procs on that, we can get the petrification status inflicted upon the guards, removing them from combat as stone statues. We also might just try to murder them, or use a mute bell, or cast a mute spell, or size. There's a lot of different ways to go about this. JohnBirckhead may go the stone route, as chat is pointing out, and just try to stone the guards on the hook route. While Infinious does show us a Mylon and Friends, this is a far better fight to get than Mylon Z here. Mylon Z would be super punchy. Mylon and Friends is going to be no threat, especially with an adamant armor Edward.
The gas can be a little punchy if you kill Mylon and leave them alone, so from my perspective, that's basically like the only thing here, but a big dragon is going to go Blarg, and I think everything is going to just die. So no worries.
Yeah. Yeah, Rydia is rocking plus 13 wisdom right now with a charm rod and a rune ring, and Bahamut is super duper powerful as it is. I want to say it's like 480 base spell power or something. By comparison, Nuke is like 400. So it's literally stronger than Nuke and AoE. And then you have, Meteo up at like 800, something ridiculous like that. But we do get an Artie bow on JohnBirckhead's side, I believe, which is kind of nice. Its biggest benefit here is not actually letting Rosa hit things. It's actually the fact that he is now going to be acting second, basically going to be able to go through and just, get Eddie zerked. We do see Tela going to the middle on JohnBirckhead's side, indicating we are going to be going stone strats. And then on Infinious' side, we have a couple Bahamuts firing with the hourglass, and so he will make short work of guards as well.
So 30 minutes to get through the hook route, not bad at all.
No, especially with a couple trap chests done on each side, and the Tower of Zot. But with vampires in an early shop, adamant armor spoonword, and a free boss on the hook route, definitely makes sense this is a zoomer. Add into that you have two exceptionally skilled runners, and it is no shock to me at all that, we're seeing Infinious going to have a Falcon percent time of about 32 minutes, and Birckhead will be probably 2 minutes or so behind that. So both runners will be underground sub 35 minutes here, which, again, no surprises on this end.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Well, Infinious showing us that there's no pot roast at the top of the Tower of Babel, but we do have something that would make some good food in its own right. That is an Octomammoth up there. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be too difficult for our runners. Get Eddie zerked up and just spoon that silly squid to death.
And just in case you're wondering, no, please do not put octopus in your pot roast.
That is a horrifying concept. I have a question for you though, Gar. Can we tease the Octomammoth? I know you're not allowed to tease the octopus, but can you tease the Octomammoth?
I would say yes, it's okay to tease the Octomammoth. He's a lot more rude in general than Ultras ever will be. So it's okay. I would say it's definitely okay to do that.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, see if we have some Uncle Ulti comparisons or anything like that going on. Infinious going into Dwarf Castle avoids the rudest dwarf in Dwarf Castle, loving to just block your path. But nothing in that shop. We see a Sura, but with Rosa, we don't really see Sura. And going to show us some of these item shops as well, these gated item shops. Dwarf Castle, everybody's fired. These shops are awful. Go away. You've wasted our runner's time.
Yeah, that was not exactly what we were looking for.
Oh.
And that Val's kind of gross too.
This is a gnarly spot for Val. A perfect magic defense here, and also 4 or 5 physical evade multipliers. Spoonward will get through it. Infinious has a cane to jump, and then he could just Bahamut however he wants to go about it. Birckhead is going to have a little bit of a trickier situation here, as he's going to have to rely solely on Edward. But yeah, this is not a fun fight whatsoever. So yeah, good luck to our runners on it. I think Infinious is better set up for it, but it's still going to be a little bit slower. Yang powering for 600, Eddie going to be doing the Zerk thing, and not going to have a problem on Infinious' side. He is going to jump. The weak missing is really nice because it makes it better for not running into trouble at Dwarf 2. JohnBirckhead, will he give us an occupational, was that physician?
Occupational physician, yeah. A fun fact, my brother is actually one of those.
Ah.
Not occupational therapist, but it's same deal.
Ooh, and that is a shop right there. That's Ninja Blades and Cat Claws. I expect we'll see another Cat Claw purchase. That would give us 2 total. And the Ninja Blades, if an edge shows up, would kind of level that advantage out that Infinious would have. Also, folks, this is why you go to the armor shop first. Because if you don't go to the armor shop, don't go to the armor shop. This is also the same reason you go to the weapon shop first in Baron, folks. These NPCs, they're the worst shopkeepers in history. It's the armor vendor in Tamra, and it's the weapon vendor in Baron, the lock shop in Baron. They do not want to sell you their wares, and they will just stand there behind the counter and mock you and laugh at you, and yeah.
They got by for hundreds of years before you showed up.
It's really funny, though. Like, you see all these races, and some of them come down to mere seconds. Imagine losing a race because you didn't go to the armor shop first. Like, of all the ridiculous things you can think of. Someday, it'll decide a race. It'll be terrible, but also hilarious. It happened.
World Collide has had races that were decided on the order of frames. So, yeah, like I'm actually kind of surprised that doesn't happen more in Free Enterprise.
We have 3-second tie windows, which is not a banned word anymore for this tournament. We do pick up an Adamant Rock and a Baron Key.
Oh, wow.
Do not forget your warp glitch today, kids. That is a hard required Baron Key. I expect our runners to go do Baron sooner than later because we know that there's 2 guaranteed objectives there. Potentially 3 because we had a starting blue robe. That would be quite the find for Infinious if he's able to clear out 3 early objectives there, needing to complete 6 out of 7 total. If he can get 3 off the board early, that really would put some impetus on finding that darkness crystal, and then maybe being very close to completing the seed at that point. Is JohnBirckhead now also heading into Dwarf, while Infinious going to give us a peek at the Famar.
So we're hoping for a really good Feymarch freebie here. Finding the Darkness Crystal here. How about a Cursed Ring? Just sitting in the shop, or sitting in a chest. No big deal.
Yeah, the cursory is actually huge. Way more important than that ribbon, frankly. We already know where Golbez is, so I guess that ribbon's kind of cool.
And then Bacchus Wine's here too. Wow.
Yeah, okay, these Bacchus, we're going to see a lot of things get sold on Infinious' side, maybe even including that ribbon. He moused over it, but said no long. 20 Bacchus wines. Yeah, there's 100 grand. Eddie gets to now drink to start every fight, and we carry on from there.
And JohnBirckhead through his Val fight. It looks like both runners there just opted to Zerk Eddie and just let him swing. Jump, not even much of a consideration.
And looks like we have a ruby spread of some sort at the king spot, dark elf at the queen spot. Not really much impetus to take either of those fights, to be completely honest, so I agree with Infinious just saying, nah, I'm good. I'll go do other things like this ultra giga card required Baron that I picked up, and if I have to come back to the Feymarch, so be it.
Yeah, so we'll go down here, we'll poke Yong, and then I wholly expect just a complete Baron dive.
And also worth noting that, picking up those Bacchus wines, letting Eddie just hit things every single time a fight starts. JohnBirckhead showing us those D-Lunars that Infinious already defeated. Those D-Lunars are one of the few bosses that could give you pause, even with an adamant armor. Once you start hitting them, they will counter with the virus that will be reflected. That virus does not care about your adamant armor, as it is not elemental damage. So that's a nice boss for our runners to have out of the way. That kind of leaves Dark Knight Cecil as really like the only boss other than maybe Kainatsu that can deal true damage. So there's few and far between, in the way of bosses that are left that can even cause issues for this team. And Infinious is going to show us Sheila 1 has not had a chance to bop the monk because we don't have a pan, but going to tell Sheila, hey, we found your husband, but he's taking a really long nap. Can you give us an item? And we get a sand ruby. Have we seen the character in bed yet?
We have not gone to Kaipo whatsoever, so... the question that I have is, do we even really care? I guess if it's an edge, but...
I think you want to know about Edge, Fu, and Cecil. You might not take them, but you want to know about their existence if they're there. Infinious, interestingly enough, is healing up before fighting Golbez, whereas I find that a little interesting because I would want to just cure Eddie up and then bop everybody else, but it's not going to make a difference because Eddie's going to survive this and then just bash Golbez's head in with a spoon, which is probably more graphic than it needs to be. But it's interesting healing up here when we're about to want people to fall over to quicken this fight. We do see a heroine robe. I don't know that we got to see this on Infinious' side, but a heroine robe out of the Feymarch armor shop. That's actually huge for our white mage or white mages potentially in the long term. If we're able to pivot off of an arty bow but keep a heroine robe on, that's plus 15 agility for Rosa in particular. That will keep her fast and have her basically be able to do a lot of really good work. So we have Artemis bow, we have heroine robe. We don't have really great arrows, but we got some good stuff on this Rosa that we have available. Well, Infinious does take out that Golbez, so at the 42-minute mark, we do have our first objective on the board, objective number 2 for Infinious.
And now he's heading south. It looks like he is going to check the Sand Ruby. Might as well, I guess, since you're right there. It only takes a bit. My money is on Sid. And I am wrong.
Yeah, here's the interesting thing is we don't have anything for him, do we? Do we have a lightsaber still?
I think we have a lightsaber, but we don't have no X-Cal, no Crystal Sword, no or Defense or Avenger, anything like that. So
we have on JohnBirckhead's side something interesting happening here. The adamant armor has come off from that Edward and has gone on to the Rydia. Now, this is interesting because it means that JohnBirckhead is setting up for what he thinks might be a gauntlet. And by having this Rydia with the adamant armor, he is setting it up so she can go first and virus everything before it gets actions. This will work in most fights. But with the crocodiles, they may still cheat enough that they will not get, or that attempt may not work exactly how he wants it to, just because of how fast they act and how few jamming they get, if you will. But we see both runners kind of converging here in Baron. Infinious up that Golbez check, but we'll see if JohnBirckhead's play to prep for what could be a gauntlet pays off for him by putting that adamant armor on Rydia. Now that will leave Eddie slightly weak to elemental effects from magic by taking the adamant armor off and having adamant sickness, but frankly there's only 5 bosses you have to worry about that for, and honestly we really don't care too much about that. Just put the adamant armor on the best person and don't care about the side effects. But both runners heading on in, and we're going to get to find out, is this an objective, or does it just mean the next blue robe we see is our objective? And that is no Senator Crocodile today, no filibustering, no Ambassador Armadillo, none of those fun things. I know Ambassador Armadillo's down in Dwarf, but that's a Baron problem or chat problem or something.
I should not be surprised that these encounters have names, and yet.
We do enjoy our memes.
Which is great. Every community needs a nice, healthy amount of memes.
When we find the magma key, we still have one left. Going to draw the ire of chat. It looks like we have both runners heading to the Baron Liberation first. They are not going to take the gamble of going to the basement, even with an adamant armor. And, well, that's about the least frightening fight.
Yeah. Baron royalty replaced with Eblan royalty. He is going to bring them all down to the Hades.
And JohnBirckhead going to pick up a little bit of time here, just by annihilating the King Queen Eblan with the power of Spoon. As cool as Bahamut is, and Bahamut is great, Bahamut is slow. Bahamut is the Final Fantasy IV free enterprise, equivalent of Ultima, if you will. I know that at both of our times playing World Collide, pushing the button, as I like to call it. You can push the button in free enterprise with Bahamut, but it still takes time, and oftentimes swinging with a spoon word is faster. our runners are presented with an edge, and edge is definitely coming along for Infinious. I did not catch it. Did John take edge as well or no?
I didn't see that either, but it's hard to believe that he would hold on to Kane after seeing an edge, especially after getting all the nice ninja sticks for edge.
John did get rid of edge, it looks like. We
Oh,
did pick up
wow.
a darkness crystal from Baron Liberation as well. So if you want to have any success at all in this seed, you best be going to Baron. Also, no curse ring on John's side, so did not get that curse ring from the chest in Feymarch. Does take the cat claws off to slow Yang down, but Infinious has a curse ring for that Yang, is going to set up likely to just turn him into kind of just a guy that exists to do nothing but anchor for
Just
the
be
party.
an anchor. Yep.
And it looks like we're going to just be running pretty much duo Zerk on Infinious' side and just some Dark Imps in the basement. These are punchy little buggers, but shouldn't prove too much of a problem at all for our runners. Infinious should just be able to Bahamut them should Iridia live, and on Birckhead's side should just be able to chew them with that Eddy, especially if a Toad fires from this Iridia.
So John Birckhead, I think, also saw coffins in the Tomra shop. I can't remember if he actually bought any, but that would also be an option here. But just deal with the frogs. I think it's a little better.
Yeah, you know, and then Eddie hits for 8,000, and then Tello lands an off slot
Off
stone.
spot stone. You love to see
Sure.
it.
Yeah,
Don't
I
you,
mean, it
Bob?
must be nice. Yeah, it must be nice. I'm not bitter. Better, good, and lucky. And that's what our runners are. John Birckhead going to get a Stardust, not a Rod, just a Stardust J item. That is a tier 4 reward from on T Wildish from a summon location. That is not a high percentage chance of that happening. But does get objective 5 on the board as well. So right now, Infinious is up the Sheila One Check and Golbez. John Birckhead up the Baron Basement for about the next not very many seconds.
You give it about 10 seconds here.
So I think Infinious does have still probably about a minute and a half, 2-minute lead here. But this race is still way too close to call at this point. Our runners notably are a Gauntlet or a Twin Harp from things getting really interesting because they have access to half a Forge. They have access to Cave Bahamut already. So they're going to get very panicked if another objective shows up very soon. For example, like if there's a Gauntlet in Cave Bahamut, you're going to see panic set in because that's going to put our runners very close to go mode.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There is also another check that is looming, and I do wonder if we're going to get it out of Infinious as we see him going back underground. But looks like he is headed over to Tomra to do some shopping. The check that I'm referring to is my least favorite check, but also favorite check. Keyless Power. I hate it and love it. It has decided so many races over the years in Free Enterprise. What are your thoughts on potential Keyless Tower?
I would say that at this juncture, I'm probably not looking at it. I just picked up a Darkness Crystal, and there is a complete Cave Bahamut objective staring me right in the face. So I personally am just going to go right there. We'll see what Bahamut has. Now, after that, that's where I am unsure. I think at that point, since I'm already on the moon, I would probably just go ahead and clear it out.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that as well. I like the moon over the Keyless Tower play here. I think if you are going to do Keyless Tower, you're also beholden to the Feymarch. And Uh, but
Yeah.
it just didn't seem like an appetizing Feymarch to go after. So, yeah, I'm inclined to agree with both runners being 3 out of 6 objectives done. Cave Bahamut on the horizon. I think it makes a lot of sense. Do also want to take the time to thank everybody who is putting on this fantastic restream this morning. Niabari pushing all of the restream thingers behind the scenes. I don't know how any of that works, so good job doing the Lord's work. Appreciate that, Niabari. Zald pressing all the buttons, making sure that y'all can see what everybody has, making sure that everything is tracked appropriately. Actually has the hardest job of all. To our runners, of course, Infinious and JohnBirckhead putting on one heck of a show for you. And Gar might be a first-time for Enterprise commentator, but you wouldn't know it. Doing a fantastic job keeping me honest here in the booth.
Yeah, thanks much. Definitely give everybody a follow, especially our runners. I know that JohnBirckhead and Infinious have been around for a while, so you're probably already following them, but just in case you're not. Also, please hydrate. Everyone should be hydrating on a regular basis.
Definitely agree with the hydration. Looks like we have some elixirs and mute bells, tents. We do pick up a couple mute bells on Birkhead's side. Didn't see if we picked up anything on Infinious' side, because I'm bad at watching two things at once. But we'll see where our runners opt to go from here. JohnBirckhead going to the Lunar Dais. Infinious going to Cave Bahamut. Infinious has the Sand Ruby character, which is Cecil. So Infinious has 6 mute bells as well. But looks like that Cecil difference might come into play here, especially if a Holy Sword shows up. We have a Balamb on the moon. That could push JohnBirckhead more towards Reflect strats. But I don't know if... I mean, he could replace Iridia here. I don't see it. We probably say no to Balamb. Oh, we still have a Tella.
Yeah, we still have the Tella, so...
Just kidding.
Pretty easy choice.
So Balamb versus Cecil, going to be a big factor here. The Sand Ruby, to answer a question from chat, was from Sheila 1, which JohnBirckhead has said no to so far. A Sparkle and Cave Bahamut, show me Ogo Pogo.
Show me Wyvern, there we go.
Okay, Wyvern also work.
A Wyvern with Retreat.
Oh,
okay.
Heat Ray, okay. So Heat Ray would normally be terrifying, because that's what Red Dragons do, but it's based on the magic attack in the spot, and unfortunately, A, we have adamant armor, and B, the magic here stinks. So that Heat Ray, which could have been amazing, is just disappointing.
The one time that I found a Wyvern at the Masa altar, it was a Retreat Wyvern. I was both very happy and a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, it's great because it's gone, but it's sad because you get no XP when it retreats as well.
Yeah. Quick Mind rating with the party of 14. Thank you so much. Hope you all are doing well.
And the nukes start to fly. Infinious, well, rip Cecil.
Yeah,
No.
that was exactly the wrong nuke target.
Well, I think Eddie was exactly the wrong nuke target, but Cecil was probably the second worst. Yeah.
And then just the glass hat out of that too.
Yeah, but it's an objective that gives Infinious, for the time being, a 4-3 advantage on objectives. But no Cecil difference yet, because Cecil got no XP and is currently wielding a mute knife that did all of 52 damage to Wyvern. And it looks like on JohnBirckhead's side, we're going to need to get some characters back up to act as meat shields for these nukes. Lost 2 characters because I don't think he was fully healed or had adamant sickness on somebody, because Wyvern showed up and actually did an elemental thing, which is unusual. But, well, you know, it happens.
Yeah, the Balamb was always going to get knocked over, unfortunately. Yes. It's just way too little HP.
Yeah, that Balamb was never going to stand a chance against literally anything. I mean, maybe lives through like an ice one, but yeah,
And
that's
even that's like a pretty big maybe. Here, yeah.
Balamb was always going to have a Monday on this fine Sunday. Rydia is currently having a Monday, and goodbye, Rydia.
She's just a little tired.
And we get to a couple of slows coming out. Nuke is flying again. It goes to Yang. That's great because Yang can't actually die from this nuke. He's going to try, though, because he doesn't dodge anything. No XP for Rydia here, which could be a detriment long term because she needs a whole ton of it to get to nuke. But curious to see the direction that our runners go from here. Looks like Infinious committing to the top-down route, which certainly makes a lot of sense. If you come up with like a Twin Harp here or a Gauntlet, you're very happy. It might prevent a second trip through the moon. This would be a spooky fight. The Magus Sisters here if we didn't have an Adamant Armor. Because we have Adamant Armor on Edward, and he can just drink some wine, the only thing that would be potentially concerning would be if everybody else somehow died, and we got to reflect a virus that killed Eddie. But the sisters would have to go through like Lit 2 and Fire 2 and Ice 2 and then finally get to Virus. I just don't see that happening. So I think this is going to be a pretty free fight for our runners. Infinious desperately trying to get that Cecil some XP, bringing him back to life. We are getting a Cure 3 coming out from Rosa. The Mute Knife on Cecil. Infinious is like, wait, that would have been really nice on Edge this fight. Well done. Well, and Edge living would also have been
too
nice.
hard. Yeah.
Some divergence here. JohnBirckhead saying, thanks, but no thanks. We're going to skip the Mura altar, and we're going to head to the bottom of the moon. This is potentially his way to catch up. If value is at the bottom and not here at Mura, JohnBirckhead technically ahead, which I suppose is the best way to be ahead or something, but is still, I believe, down a curse ring. And does know.
Oh, wow.
If you are an Infinious fan, that
very
is great
happy to
news
see
for
that.
you. Yeah, if you're a JohnBirckhead fan, that is a disaster. Twin Harp just chilling at the Murasame altar. Infinious, in my opinion, correctly going to just exit out and chase this right away. This could just be his go mode. If it has either the Legend Sword or the Gauntlet at the Twin Harp, this is just easy GG Infinious. We'll just grind and go to Zeromus after the Twin Harp. So definitely agree with the play here from Infinious. Giving us music this morning, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Objectively, the correct play here.
Yeah, absolutely. Could be interesting for JohnBirckhead if he gets a gauntlet into the other half of the forge.
True. Yeah, I mean, if you have like a Ribbon Room Gauntlet, plus the other half of Forge, things swing back into his favor. And we have a Kainatsu here. This is a rough spot for Kainatsu because Wave is true damage. Wave does not care about your Adamant Armor, so you best get your Thor Rages out and have Eddie start knocking down the HP pool that this Kainatsu has. Turtle.
His first one, at least, will go off just fine.
Yes, the first wave is definitely going to be nerfed here. So that's very good and very heads up from John. But we probably still need to nerf another wave or two because Eddie only has 560 health. Yes, he only takes 1 damage, but we need to get this Store Rage out like right now. Yep. Actually, this might be a smidge early.
That looks okay.
Looks good. Queued before the wave goes up, which means it's going to nerf, so the wave will not actually fire. And this is good news for JohnBirckhead. He should be through this fight. And Chad also pointing out on Infinious' side, there are only a couple of bosses that he doesn't have access to: Package, Tower, and Sealed Cave. So Infinious may be in face check modes, kind of harkening back to ZZ5, where it was all boss hunts. This could be a situation where he just starts to fly around the world looking for all of the bosses, not really caring about key items anymore. So that'd be an interesting thing for him to think about while we get some music from DJ Spoony B. So for everyone here who likes rockin' tunes, I'll actually be polite and shut up for once while the music is happening. So enjoy, y'all, or something. Go Mystic Quest music.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, you know what else is interesting?
Not that.
We can get underground now. Yay! All right, anyway, so the Twin Harp has the magma key. That doesn't really matter.
But the Demoness.
It actually does get Infinious to 10 key items, so it kind of does matter. But the Demoness, yeah, the Demoness hiding at the Twin Harp. If that Demoness has a Legend Sword, this race is just over. Sorry. I'll be that blunt about it.
Yeah.
If it does not, though, like if this has something that like weirdly chains, it could be slightly awkward. Infinious does go in from the left-hand side, so if this has the package, he will have to exit out instead of walking out. Meanwhile, JohnBirckhead, I don't believe got anything from the Ribbon Room. I think he got like a heroin robe and something else, just a power shirt from D-Mist. But JohnBirckhead now finding Dr. Lugay at the White Spear Altar. Not going to be a very difficult fight. Trying to conserve some Bacchus wine, though. And looks like he should be successful in that. But that power shirt is pretty nice, actually, for Infinious, who we see making a play here. Okay, he has Sirens, and he's going to do a bit of a grind right now.
Yep, totally understandable. This is going to give him a little bit of time to think about what he actually wants to do, because there are options. I don't think any of them are particularly good.
I mean, I think in his shoes, it's boss check time. But that does beg the question to me of if it's boss check time and you're looking for the gauntlet, that's your grind. Why are we grinding? So I'm interested to ask Infinious about the choice to grind when the last boss is just XP in a can. So it's very interesting. The decision here to grind, it'll make the gauntlet faster for sure, should he find it, and it'll make the rest of the moon fights faster. But like, we already have an adamant spoonword with Bacchus wine, so it's a little curious. But it's just going to make him clear the rest of the seed even faster. So we'll see. It could be, as Chad is pointing out, the off gauntlet at the Ogopogo spot. That's always a thing that exists. And good luck if that's the case.
Well, so the king and queen of the Fey March, they hold key items too, or they can hold key items. Is that right?
True.
So
True.
it's entirely possible that Infinious is planning on either going up Keyless Tower or taking a dive back into the Fey March to clear out the bosses there. Because if he can scoop up the other half of that forge, well, then he's already right here and he's good to go.
And doesn't have to walk the moon a second time. That's definitely true. Where we see JohnBirckhead finding one of the worst possible bosses. Also, Adamant Sickness rearing its ugly head here. Hey, Rydia, take 1,800 damage from a quad weak fire here. Eddie can't die in this fight. He will only take 1 damage at a time. Everyone else is probably going to die here. So, whatever. He's going to get through the fight. Adamant armor is that good. Ruby at this spot is that awful. Also, by Balamb, enjoy your quad 9s. Because Glare is very strong, and everyone is very dead, other than Eddie. I know, in your neck of the woods in Worlds Collide, there's 8 different things that are as good as an adamant armor. But in this game, we only got 1.
I mean, it depends on if you want to block magic or if you want to block physical attacks, right? There's actually a pretty spirited debate on whether the Minerva, which blocks fire, ice, lightning, and wind damage, is better than the Snow Muffler, which is just the ultimate physical defense.
Interesting. Yeah, there's no debate here. It's just adamant armor.
It's just adamant armor, yeah.
We see Infinious. He just did a grind and then yeeted Cecil in favor of Rydia because he's got Bahamut. So he's just saying this Rydia is useless. For Z, I don't care about her for Z, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just take her for Bahamut in case I need the AoE. Maybe slingshotting her. Tough to say exactly what the plan is, but that Cecil play ends up not paying out for Infinious. We get a rat tail from Root at the very bottom of the moon. That is very interesting. That rat tail, if it leads to the Legend Sword, for example, it's gonna take Infinious a hot second to get down there to find it. We should be getting a warp cast out of Rydia here, head over into the Crystal Sword altar. Gonna be...
There's still a lot of interesting things that can be found, right? So we haven't seen the pan yet, for example. And that represents 2 key items. We're still on the hunt for a gauntlet. If the gauntlet is here at the Crystal Sword altar, then... that's also very neat.
Yeah, the gauntlet sucks here.
Look, I'm not making any prescriptions about whether the gauntlet sucks or not. I'm just saying it's neat.
It is. It is. Yeah, so if the gauntlet's here, it's Fatalize and Blue Dragons and random King Ryus and the Red Giant.
You were just talking up Bahamut, like... maybe an hour or so ago, and now that there's more dragons, all of a sudden you're putting them down.
Ooh, well, this is a fight that exists.
This is punchy.
Yeah, again, Edward will be fine here. The waves are true damage, but Eddie actually dodged one of them because the magic here is weak enough and his evade is high enough with the adamant armor. So, it's one of those things. You had mentioned set it and forget it, a little while back. This is just, put the good stuff on Eddie and let him roll. Rydia going to help out with an Asura cast here. She is not going to roll Life Face and actually be helpful for once. And there we go. Eddie is on his way. Worth noting, though, we are seeing a lot more in the way of in-battle menuing from JohnBirckhead than we are in Infinious, which I think is actually slowing him down. Re-equipping the Cat Claws every fight, while it adds a little bit to Young's damage, just let Eddie go. I don't think that taking the time to put those Cat Claws on to do a couple hundred damage with Young is actually beneficial here. So we took a bunch of time to do 1,200 damage, which is cool if you need 1,200 damage, but Eddie's pumping out 4K to hit. So I think that's one of those things that if we're comparing runners and this race could come down to second, with how good these two are, I think that could be a takeaway for John. just don't care about Yon. Interesting here that Infinious is not in face check mode. A little surprised by this, given that he only is missing access to 3 bosses. He has the ability to face check the bottom of the moon, face check the giant. Kind of surprising that he's not in face check mode at this point. So we're going to have JohnBirckhead head in and go do the Murasame altar, get his twin harp. I still think that that Infinious is slightly ahead, but interestingly enough, that time he took to grind, I think is going to be largely mitigated by JohnBirckhead just kind of powering through the moon. So again, I think these two are so evenly matched that the perceived one objective lead that Infinious had is going to melt away a little bit here.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate too. So JohnBirckhead, already having found the rat tail, has 2 things that he can do right away on the overworld. Infinious is currently up an entire Cave Magnus, but like you said, JohnBirckhead's going to be able to get through that totally fine, and he's got a rat tail already, so Infinious gonna have to go back up.
Yeah, and we know at this point that unless it's exactly the rat tail, that our runners are going to have to do either Keyless Tower or the Famart. I don't think we have anything else left other than that. Yeah, because Demas didn't give anything. Yeah, I think that that's what it has to be.
It's either that or you go to the giant and hope the gauntlet's there.
I mean, hope. Like you
there's big quotation marks around hope. Yeah. It is a fair amount of experience though, so like that's something. I would say that's more for JohnBirckhead than Infinious, since Infinious already did his grind, but
yes. Yeah, I could definitely see it on JohnBirckhead's side that, you know, once he completes the rat tail turn-in and the twin harp turn-in, that the giant could definitely be on the menu and just say, well, you know, maybe the reason my opponent isn't done is because it's here and he's chasing key items. And, you know, that's one of the most interesting things about hybrid objective flag sets, is that knowing when to flip the switch, whether it works or not, is a really interesting factor. And Infinious does not have Thor rages. So this fight, you know, by virtue of having grinded, Infinious gets saved because he did that grind. JohnBirckhead had the Thor rages to help him nerf, and JohnBirckhead gets his twin harp and is on the way back to the blue planet. We'll see if we get a rat tail turn in first or a harp check first. But we do have the Falcon, not the correct airship, so we could have parked the whale over near Eblan if we wanted to, but looks like we're just going to do a little dance with our airships here. Get out of my big airship to get in my other airship to get in my third airship. I love it.
I wish I could afford one airship.
Right? And a hoverboat.
And a hoverboat. Well, I mean, you can go to Louisiana and get those for a couple bucks.
That's true. Big moment here. What does this rat tail have? A pass. Okay.
Pass.
So that's good for both runners in a sense, because they're both done with the moon. They don't have to go back. They don't have to walk the stinky lunar subterranean twice. So both of them are going to be happy to see that. And it is going to kind of even things out in that regard. Infinious gets the Ribbon Room air quote rewards, and will be making his way down to the Masa altar. So I believe right now we have that Ruby fight for Infinious, and then the Rat Tail turn-in to do. And then for JohnBirckhead, we have the Twin Harp, and otherwise we're even, or Twin Harp and D-Mist. But we're otherwise even at this point if JohnBirckhead can ever catch the Black Chocobo.
The Black Chocobo is very elusive.
And the Ogopogo with the Crystal Sword altar, that is a good point. So yeah, Infinious with 2 fights and a Rat Tail turn-in to do. JohnBirckhead with a twin harp check to do. JohnBirckhead also has not done Sheila 1, chat reminding us, and that probably isn't going to be done. Infinious has said no to Ruby, so Infinious may now be in face check mode after zonking on the double key item check.
And that's interesting too, because that Ruby is holding a rat tail, and that rat tail in turn is holding a pass. So Infinious is going to have to come back here.
Yeah, that's that Ruby fight probably takes longer than 2 minutes, or right around 2 minutes. That's about the difference you have. So it's probably a net neutral, to be completely honest. It's very unlikely that you're going to lose a ton of time. Where we are going to see a ton of time lost, though, is JohnBirckhead's characters are just utterly unable to off themselves here.
He is too fast.
Too fast, too furious, too strong, too everything. This is really interesting from Infinious. He's taking the Ogopogo, but did not take the Ruby. Again, a question that I am going to have to, ask in particular, add it to my question book here, because that's what I want to know about. But we have JohnBirckhead doing his harp check, so I guess we got to shut up again, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But hey, Final Fantasy V music's always cool.
If you're into that kind, enjoy, y'all. All right, and that is Demas dispatched for JohnBirckhead, going to get his objective number 3 completed, and he can also get underground now. Yay! Infinious, meanwhile, very not going underground. Infinious is going to the Giant. Not unexpected, though. Pivoted to face check mode, I think, maybe, kinda, not exactly certain. Kind of seems half and half on both, but is going to take a peek for the gauntlet up here on the Giant. I wonder if he's going to see through both fights, or if he's just looking for one. And then does JohnBirckhead go and do the Giant after turning in this Demist as well? With pass in hand, that would basically put our runners even. Infinious would be up a little bit level-wise, but the Giant XP would catch JohnBirckhead up quite a bit on that front. So very interested to see where we go next. JohnBirckhead, I think, is either going Feymarch or Giant. And we see a sparkle from Infinious. Is that Pale Dim?
I think it has to be.
It is Pale Dim. So get your dutes out in chat if you're a fan of duting. We also see Bahamut coming out. The magic here is non-existent. So for Infinious, he says, I go Burr. Bahamut go Burr. Everything go Burr. Pale Dim. Pale Dim's song is one of the songs of the people. Fun fact about adamant armor, you can't cast float in battle on your adamant armor wearer, because it's considered a negative status effect for some reason. I don't know.
Wow, well, I learned something new today.
It's honestly so dumb. The Quake isn't going to do any damage here, though, like 100 probably. It's negligible. Don't worry about it. JohnBirckhead, going to go to his Fame Arch, though. This was one of the two things that makes sense. Where, you would either go Fame Arch or Giant here, depending on if you are in key item hunt mode or boss hunt mode. And for JohnBirckhead, he's decided on key items. For Infinious, it looks like he has decided on the boss hunt route. And for both runners, it kind of makes sense. JohnBirckhead has the pass, so has a little more incentive to just, do the things that are down here. These fights are going to be pretty free and clean. Just going to be a matter of zerking up this Eddie.
So I'm trying to think of, like, if the gauntlet isn't here and there's only one more spot on the Giant to check, it's like the only other place I think that Infinious can check right now is Tower 1, right? Or top of tower, rather.
Well, and we already know what top of tower is.
That's right. Top of tower is exactly, yeah. And that's an Octomammoth. So
yeah. So we know it's not top of tower. Basically, if it's not a Giant 2, which we'll find out momentarily, it's either package, tower key, or Luca key. In which case, frankly, Infinious is in a bad way then, because he would be behind JohnBirckhead, who is making these key item checks. He'd also be behind a pass at that point. The window would be closing a little bit, but if Gauntlet is here and it is not here, Infinious resets. And so I think that is, for JohnBirckhead fans now, you are happy because your guy is probably in the lead. For Infinious fans, you're sad because he's back on the moon. He's going to do this Ruby. He's at least going to get a pass, but now he's behind a Ruby fight. He's behind a Fame Arch fight.
And
he's behind a Pan, and that is 2 key item checks. And mathematically, probably leads to the Legend Sword in some way, even if it's through something gating like the Tower Key. But these are why you can never call these races too soon unless, someone is objectively in go mode and their opponent's like 4 objectives away. Even if JohnBirckhead does find the Legend Sword very soon, he's still not ready to fight Zeromet. And his Zeromus fight is going to be quite a bit different than Infinious. Infinious has all the levels. So he's got a very, very easy, breezy fight. Infinious also has a Curse Ring. JohnBirckhead does not have a Curse Ring and does not yet have all his levels. So even though JohnBirckhead now may seem like he's in the lead, this still ain't over.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that JohnBirckhead is going to spend a whole lot of time grinding. I think he basically just wants to get ready to nuke and then go. But Infinious is a lot closer to that. Well, yeah, he's a lot closer to that than JohnBirckhead is. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's a very interesting situation that our runners find themselves in.
Yeah, I think that at this very moment, I like JohnBirckhead's chances. Well, now I really like him.
I really like
there's a Legend
now.
Sword. Now that is interesting though, because if Infinious does the Dark Elf fight first, he picks up the time that it took to do the Element fight. So Infinious needs to go Fame Arch and go Fame Arch immediately. Birckhead needs to obviously go, do the Forge thing, which is going to happen soon once he flies to Kokol instead of Tamra. And when he turns that in, see if there's anything he might want from the shops. Does he look for like Stardust Rods? How far does he grind? Does he grind? Does he look to get Yang all the way to, level 52 for 20 natural agility? Does he look to get him to like level 45 and then maybe like put a Cat Claw on to get him to 28? Holy Zerker shop, that's Power Shirts and Zeus Gauntlet. Where are these shops when I play these Holy moly. That's actually probably bad for JohnBirckhead, all things considered. That helps Infinious more because Infinious is Trizerking. We do get a God Hand that's plus 15 to all stats for Yang. You don't want to go into the Zeromus fight with the God Hand on because that plus 15 agility is like actively bad. You want to keep Yang if possible, like 28 agility, not 42 or 56. But once you swap that out when the fight starts, you get the strength and you get the other benefits. We are checking Balamb's agility or something on Balamb's stat. Little curious. I guess we're just going.
He's just going.
Okay. This is interesting. What is our agility situation on Yang? Battle speed 3, we're at 24 agility, so we need a cat claw on to get him to 29. Yeah, I would have loved to see some of those eggs get popped. This is sketchy on JohnBirckhead's side. We have a level 41 Iridia. Yeah, this is...
Yeah.
I love the play. I love the aggression. This is...
It seems to me a little reckless. And again, as somebody who's a relative novice to the game, I would love jam on, at least another 10 levels or so to our party.
I would love 5, but I also love the Z flags in chat. And Gar, I'm gonna make you do the thing because it's your first time, doing comms. So,
man,
spiel it up, buddy. Hand it up. Do it for the crowd. Do it for the people.
Whose butt are we kicking this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are?
And
is the butt cute? Does the butt have a hat? Does the butt like pot roast?
See, you're an expert at this already. I love it.
I watched a few races,
So, big thing here with Zeromus, there's like 600 different sprites, most of them done by wonderful resident art expert and director of Free Enterprise, Scala-Kitty. Who knows which one we're going to get, but like Zeromus is one of the best cosplay, dudes out there, or dudettes, or, whatever Zeromus is. Really amazing.
The embodiment of hatred has a lot of costumes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why Zeromus is so angry. Anyway, whatever, enough about that. Let's see what we get for a costume, and do we have silk webs? Because when you're rocking this party, okay, we have a silk web. Boy, do we need to not mess that silk web up. Because if we throw this silk web early,
it will just
it'll miss, and then we're not going to have the slows cast, and it's going to be super sketch. We also see a Starvel going up on Eddie. This is so Eddie doesn't get counter nuked and removed from the face of this earth. Rosa has an Artemis bow that was on to help her with her agility. She no longer has it. This silk web may be early. This silk web is early. That is a disaster for JohnBirckhead. That was the one thing you could not afford to have happen here. So I am instantly very concerned for this fight. We do have Mothermas from La Mulana, but we don't have any slows.
From.
Yeah, I didn't know, so I was just looking at chat and kind of waiting until they said it. How to cheat as a commentator.
I will not lie. My first instinct was to say, oh, that's Olmec from Legends of the Hidden Temple. And then I was like, but the color scheme is not correct for that.
Purple pythons? Silver snakes.
I was the silver snakes kind of guy.
Okay. The orange monkeys, I forget all of them.
Purple parrots, I think?
Oh, that's what it was, yeah. I forget.
Blue barracudas? Yeah. Slowly, the memories are trickling back in.
Worth noting for Infinious, he, I believe, said, I got the pan, YOLO, I'm out of here. And, off to turn in the pan he goes. Not what he needs. But we do see a big bang coming out here. Eddie has an adamant armor on. Moment of truth. Eddie lives. That's really good if you're a JohnBirckhead fan. Second slow is out. Disaster potentially avoided for now. We do need to do a lot of cleanup, though. We need to get people cured. We need to get a wall penetrating curative, like a cure 3 on Eddie. We probably want Rydia up nerf. A lot to do here in a very short window of time on JohnBirckhead's side. This Ice 3 is ambitious from Balamb. I would have loved to see this turn taken to cast, or rather to use a Cure 3 on Edward. Because now, where's our nerf coming from?
With the timing, too.
We're going Asura, okay. So we need to tip here. If we don't tip into the second phase, we're in trouble. So hopefully for John's sake, he did tip. Looks like it did happen, because I don't think that Asura fires otherwise. So we should be good.
We do get the heal and not the life, which is very nice.
The Ice 3 does come out, so we have refilled. So we are into phase 2 of this fight. So JohnBirckhead is probably about 50,000 damage away. Infinious, meanwhile, got the tower key from the pan, which is the worst possible thing he could have gotten. That's going to basically make it so that, well, he's going to do all of this and then go back to Defay March and then get the Legend Sword and be sad.
This for Infinious
also means that the Gauntlet is either at the package or the sealed cave. Ugh. We have the virus coming out from JohnBirckhead. Counter nuke goes on Yang, which is probably the best possible target, honestly. Well, I mean, Eddie would have been the best target, so the wall bounces it.
Yeah, if it has to hit somebody, I think other than Eddie, Yang is the only person capable of surviving it.
Oh, well, Yang is dead because we double nerf. Hey, concerned. Eddie, you gotta walk this one off, buddy.
No problem.
So we need Meteo dodges?
And I think with an adamant armor, that should be fine.
This is a Z fight that exists. John is still alive. There's a Luka key for Infinious. Does chase it.
Oh, it looks like he does. Oh, man.
So
I think it has to be here?
It's either here or the package. It's a 50-50. The gauntlet here, if it's here, is awful. This is the worst gauntlet in the game. Rocks are out. Eddie dodges. Starveil goes up. Your 3 goes on Rosa. Eddie drinks wine. If we get another dodge from Eddie here, the fight's over. There's a whole lot of ifs in this Z fight. All right, Meteo should be coming. Somebody didn't dodge. Just Balamb with the failed dodge. That's going to do it. JohnBirckhead's going to get through this fight. There's just not enough HP left in Meteo phase. Eddie's going to get another swing. That has to do it, I believe, if my math is right. And JohnBirckhead gets there. All right, well, yeah, GG's to JohnBirckhead. Official time 1:36:09. John is also joining us for an interview, and I'm just going to start out by saying GG, and of all the Z fights I've ever seen, that's one of them.
That is one that in fact existed. You know, as a kid, my brother and I used to watch a lot of MacGyver. He was obsessed with that show, and that's kind of what that fight was like. You need to fight Zeromus. You have a 900 level Eddie. You have 3 band-aids, a paperclip, and a slingshot. Please kill this boss. That's what this felt like. Oh my god.
And
yet,
lucky for you, you avoided the sealed cave gauntlet, by the way, which we're just seeing on Infinious' side, which was pan to tower to Luca key to gauntlet. So
Absolutely disgusting.
Gross. Well done on fading that. The age-old moniker of if you do the checks that require the least amount of work and do less of them than your opponent, you often come out ahead. So good job on that.
Mathematically, that sounds right. Thank you.
Question, couple early questions. Obviously you ran extremely well, but I would like to know why only 7 vampires, and why do you hate Kane so much? What did he do?
Let's see. Only 7 vampires because I don't know. I thought we'd kind of go ahead and get there, and I don't have a good answer for you. It was just like, let's buy these and go. I don't have a. I would love to have a legit answer for you. I don't. Sometimes in practice seeds, if I find them early, I'll buy a ton, and then I end up just kind of using them. And I don't even think I used all 7 anyway. So I mean, I probably got lucked out with the spoon there. But after a while, early Cat Claw, Young's gonna get some early levels. Plus, he's gonna be fast in the overworld, which means he's gonna get some turns. I don't know. 7 just kind of felt right to kind of go with it. So there is no. If I watch you or Rybon or Infinious or these top tier runners, you have your reasons and your thought processes about HP totals and this, that, and the third. I don't know, man. I just saw 7. I bought it. I woke up 25 minutes before the race started. I bought 7 and off we went. So.
That's fair. As far as the kind of the rest of the seed played out, we saw that you did basically no grind. Which led to your MacGyvered Z fight. You were doing checks up on the moon. Once you found the Twin Harp in particular, and you were kind of, reverse routing the moon from how you probably wanted, or how the seed wanted you to do it. When you got that Twin Harp, what was your thought process at that point? Were you thinking face check mode, key item hunt mode? Because we ultimately saw you go the key item route, but where was your mind at when you got that Twin Harp? What was your thought process from there on out?
I don't think I'm going to be allowed to do comms anymore if I say any of the words that I thought when I got that last on the moon. I do your objectives, right? And so I thought maybe I'd get the pan up there. At that point, I think after Cave Magnus, it was 4 objectives, a lot of density of boss checks. Obviously, I hadn't done Keela's Tower, and obviously I hadn't done Sheila 1. But, K-Summon odds in the Fey March are around the same as K-Moon with this particular flag set. It's like, I'll find something, it'll be fine. And then, my thought was, if you go up to the moon and you're only looking for 1 key item, and you're going to do Cave Magnus first, you're probably going to do top down. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, Johnny, boy, you moron. You are behind, so let's go. I wanted to check Rat Tail real quick, because it was more or less on the way. And I didn't feel like I had time to grind. You and I have both seen races, and I've been in races where you kind of grind, and then, while someone's doing eggs or doing dragons or what have you, you lose. Because it was you got to go. And I had bought mute bells for the sole purpose of doing some warlocks. And when I got to the 4th floor, I did a quick agility check, and I saw that even with the adamant, Eddie was not RA1, so I wasn't going to be able to get the mute bell off, and I felt like it was going to be a waste of time. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll get 10 key items and then we'll go. But when I got that Twin Harp, I was like, John, you have to go right now. You have to go ahead and chase this. I lately over the past few months I've enjoyed early moon dives, and so maybe if I got there before Infinious did, maybe I can chase it. Maybe it'll have the Legend Sword. So basically, it was like, well, you're late. Gotta go. Go. And then everything else just kind of went the way it did.
Yeah, and it definitely worked out for you. Uh, the last question I kind of have for you is related to this seed in particular, the pan that you get from the king spot.
Mhm.
Was there ever a thought before you went and then got the legend sword next door to let me go chase the pan?
There was, but you're right there. To answer your question from an hour and a half ago of what's wrong with Kane, Eddie was my horse. I wanted Blinken Berserk.
Mhm.
That was my reason for that. And Eddie's going to go ahead and do Eddie things. I had stop on Dark Elf. I knew I was going to have enough time to go ahead and get a box off or Berserk or what have you before any kind of whispers or anything else. And at that point, you got to do the checks that other people haven't done. So if someone does an early, Fey March dive and they get that pan, they might bail. I'm behind. It's an hour. I don't know what New Zealand time is, but I'm 45 hours behind. I'm right here. It's not going to take that long. Just go ahead and do it. I was like, I'm glad I did that. That worked out. And then, I think I had bought 4 sirens. You're at 68k a pop, and then I was like, I wonder if I'm close to nuke. Balamb has 4 experience. No, I am nowhere close to nuke. Let's go. Let's just go. Let's just see what happens. And between learning from mistakes of Z fights past and getting a little lucky on the RNG, it all kind of worked out.
Yeah, it definitely did. I think I've exhausted the questions I had on this seed for you. Gar, who's wonderful in his first time on commentary for such an amazing race.
GG.
Do you have any questions for our winner today, John Birckhead?
I do not. You happen to steal every single one of the questions that I was going to ask, Possum. So, thanks for that.
Yeah, no problem.
No, but seriously, congrats, John Birckhead, on your first place finish. I am actually learning quite a bit just by watching runners like you and Infinious and Possum. So thanks for all you do, and thanks for putting on a fantastic race for us today.
Well, thank you for putting me in the same breath as Infinious and Possum. That's incredibly kind. GG's to Infinious, just a wonderful runner. I've been nervous about this all week. It's been a little bit of a rough week for the Brew dudes. We have a Brew dude triple header today, and to be able to go ahead and kind of get the week started off right for us feels pretty good. So. GG's to Infinious. Thank you to Niyabari for being so patient with me, running a little bit late this morning. Can't wait to listen back to the commentaries for both of you. And Zelda for doing the tracking, and for anyone that woke up to watch this, thanks so much. GG's to everybody, and I'm sure I'll talk to you all soon.
GG's again, John.
All right.
Have a good one.
You too.
So that was John Birckhead, our first place finisher today, moving to an individual record of 4-1, improving Brew Dude attitude to 9-7 overall. His team is still 3-2, but does have the leg up on this set of 3 races today with Balamb Cricket Club. So Brew Dude attitude, as John Birckhead alluded to, is off to a good start on that triple header, if you will, today. Meanwhile, Infinious did find that gauntlet in Sealed Cave, the worst gauntlet in the game, worse than the Masa Altar gauntlet. Not because it's harder, but because it's more awkward. Everything has too much health. And yeah, just super weird. But hey, Infinious has defeated Zeromus, just as we were about to talk about Infinious fighting Zeromus. And is now joining us. So GG's to you, Infinious.
GG's. It's never lucky sometimes, it happens.
Yeah, you were ahead for most of the race. You honestly were playing extraordinarily well. Loved a lot of the decision making. Most of what you were doing, and I know that we have gone back and forth on Free Enterprise ad nauseum, but we think very much alike. So of course I'm going to like a lot of what you're doing. Just honestly, at the end there, the giant didn't pay out. The Fey March didn't get you there because you chose the pan, which led to the tower, which led to Luca, which had the gauntlet. When the Legend Sword was right next door, one of just it's a feels bad, it's a happens thing. but you
I mean,
still
yeah.
ran a really good race.
Yeah, that was the thing I wasn't too sure about. Like obviously it also came down to coin flip, especially considering I literally I went 33 out of 34 boss checks. Like when that happens, you just shrug your shoulders and go, okay, what can no, can't do much about that. Just get luckier.
Definitely, and I'm going to let Gar ask any questions he has to you since I stole too many of them. Well, to interview with JohnBirckhead. So Gar, any questions for Infinious?
I guess my biggest question is, you were doing your egg grind, and while you were doing your egg grind, was there any point where you were considering doing Keyless Tower, going into the Fey March, since you were already down there, and just hoping and praying that you got something that would propel you forward in the seed, or were you like at that point pretty committed to just trying to find the gauntlet?
So at that point, I was more like thinking time, because I know I need to do a grind of some sort because Eddie levels since Eddie is the carry of that seed. I really want to make sure he had more hit points than 900 or something if I hit that gauntlet. So, and yes, I could have done Kiyosat, but like I figured given that there were 6 boss spots on the moon, and also I only had seen 1 key item from moon out of 0,
just the rat tail, I think.
Oh no, rat tail came later, but like Twin Heart from Murasame, I had. So at that point in time, I had the bottom of the moon to go, and versus so that's essentially 5 spots is with 3. I'm just and I'll play the numbers every single time, and also considering that I also have the out to the giant, and it's just like there are too many things drawing me to the rest of that moon.
That's fair, and definitely playing to the numbers is at least from my experience playing Worlds Collide. That is how you win seeds. It's just that there are unfortunately a small handful of them where it doesn't shake out, and you play by the numbers, and unfortunately somebody who makes like a more unorthodox play, or somebody who maybe just happens to get lucky takes it. So.
I mean, in the end, I can't really complain. All I could hope for was it was a close race. I played as efficiently as I could, and and most of the time it pays off. It's just this time it didn't.
Yeah, and like Possum said, I really liked your play overall. Maybe take my words with a grain of salt. I am still pretty new to FE, so I'm mostly just parroting what Possum is saying right now, but. Yeah, I thought you ran a great seed, so thanks for putting on a great show.
It's all good. Yeah, I figured I look forward to watching this back because I know I made a lot of decisions which like where I'm looking at it's like normally this is not the call, but in this specific circumstance this is the call. And yeah, it was just kind of weird how all that played out.
And the one last question I kind of have for you that hasn't covered, I guess there's actually 2 of them, but the first one is when you were doing the eggs, you kept Cecil in the party and then immediately yeeted him. Was the choice conscious to take Rydia after the grind, or was that meant to be a grind done with Rydia in the party? Obviously she got her levels and got to where she needed to be, but
again, like I said, that grind was more thinking time about how I'm going to finish off the rest of the seed. And the more I thought about it, the more it didn't really make sense for Setzel to be there. And I didn't really want to spend the time to go back to the Tower of Wishes to get Rydia back and then come back down. So, and realistically speaking, for most of the clearing of that seed, it was always going to be Edward, with the spoon. Like the fact, and if Rydia can chip in with a Bahamut or 2, great. But yeah, I didn't see like in that. My thing for all that was that Rydia's role in that was basically if I do eventually get to find that gauntlet, that she will come in with the Bahamut and just make quicker work of that than Cecil with a which I couldn't. I lost the Beard's Tobacco because I sold the Dwarf Axe. So it was like a mute dagger, and it's like this doesn't this makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, if it was like a rune axe, yes, you can.
Yeah, rune
You
axe
can take
would
that with a
actually
rune axe.
yeah, completely different story. If it was like I had any weapon for any
Right.
like even if I found a light sword at some point, like that's like all right, no, that's the play. But because I had nothing, and I didn't really want to spend more time trying to check shops for them. It's like nah, it's just gone, not worth it.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to one of my other questions about your party composition. That just in general, how happy were you when Ed showed up, given that you had found like a bazillion and a half things for him?
Yeah, that was yeah, pretty happy. It's kind of funny because like as soon as I saw Edge, it's like okay, that's my second Zerker done. Like because obviously Edward with an Adam early our lat early and the spoon. Yeah, that's like he was always gonna be primary Zerker. So it was good to know I had a secondary Zerker to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all the questions I got for you on this seed. I do have to ask, with Balamb Cricket Club currently 5-0. You are 3-2 individually. You were 3-1 going into this week with a very tough matchup against a very good opponent in JohnBirckhead. Your team is obviously still doing incredibly well. I know that y'all are 5-0, 12, I guess 12-4 overall now. Really good tiebreakers. How are you feeling overall about kind of the future for the team with what looks to be still very bright, even if there's an adverse outcome for the week?
I think it's really going to depend on how the last two race results go. I mean the other upside is that we did end up resting one of our stronger runners in funnel cakes this week, so we know, I guess, moving forward he will be available for the next two. He's in for the next 2 weeks. And honestly, it really does depend on how the last 2 weeks go, because if we end up going 6-0, then we have interesting choices to make next for the upcoming week. Given that we also have a kind of a brutal match against New Moon, so we have to then pick and choose when I have to rest, because I've already raced twice in Moonveil Mixer. Right. Do we because we could, again, the two options are clearly available to us. Is we can try to go for try to get essentially the 6 point the 6 point play in trying to go strong against New Moon, so that we get that buffer, or we or we could try to go strong in the week 8 and try to get the tiebreak, that tiebreaker against, I guess, a potential 2 or 3 seed.
So what you're saying is, even being at the top, it's still not easy.
No, and yeah, just because and also that we did not have the schedule was not kind to us. Let's just say, I think we end up getting a lot of really tough opponents, and we had to make some really hard choices. So, but no, that's sometimes that's how leagues go. So you get some teams get to play, I don't know, the NL East all the time, and some people get to play the I don't know anything about baseball.
You had to bring the NL East into it just because I'm a Mets fan. I appreciate it, but I don't like it.
Well, how's Scherzer doing anyway?
Let's not talk about baseball.
Okay.
Infinious, we'll let you go enjoy the rest of your evening. Very well raced again. Always look forward to getting to see you do these races. GG's once again. I have no doubts that you and Balamb Cricket Club will bounce back, both individually and as a team. Just hope you have a great rest of your night, friend.
Yeah. Thanks to both you, Possum and Gar, for comms. Thank you, Zoldy, for doing tracking. Thank you, Nero, for being patient when both myself and John were running a bit late. I hope it wasn't too much of a pain. But yeah, this was a fun one. Even though I lost, it was. I think I like all the choices I made in the end. So, but again, thank you all.
Right, and that was Infinious, our second place finisher today, but still ran an incredible race to do literally everything but the package check in a $1.45 on tournament level flags is
it's pretty good.
Really darn good performance.
Yeah, absolutely. He did very, very well. Both of our runners did very well. So
that is going to conclude our broadcast for the early match between Balamb Cricket Club and Brew Dude Attitude. We do have 2 more matches coming up today between these teams. We have our next restream tonight, which is going to be V Tafro and Commander Leonhardt playing at 10 Eastern. But we also have taking place earlier in the day at 2 Eastern, Firebird Lover and Erin. They're going to be doing battle not on Restream, but again, that'll be on Khadgar at 2 o'clock Eastern time. So make sure you stick around, the Free Enterprise Discord and kind of see what's happening there. But we are going to be sending y'all over to eNinja81, who is doing some practice, I believe, for Moonveil Mixer. So on behalf of everybody on the Free Enterprise broadcast today, Niabari doing the restream, Zal doing the tracking, Gar, amazing job for your first time on comms, and of course to our runners, thank you everyone behind the scenes, and then thank you everyone in chat. It is so much more fun for us to get to talk to y'all and with y'all and enjoy this experience mutually. Just remember as we head over to eNinja81, not to spoil a race, because we do have a lot of folks who love to watch these back. So please don't spoil anything, and we'll catch you for the remaining 2 races between these 2 awesome teams later today. Goodbye, friends.